Good morning, everybody. It's Positive Tuesday today, April 13th, 2021. For Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, I'm Ben Dryden, and you are watching Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by ICAA. ICAA is your local social service organization that works together with individuals, families, and the community to create and support local solutions for local needs. Their goal is to help remove barriers so people can access resources, education, and services to increase financial security. For a full list of services, find them on Facebook or check them out on the website at indianheadcaa.org. Fitzy, good morning, man. It looks like casual Tuesday down there today.
Yeah, we have training today after this, so I gotta go to training, and it's gonna be cold and muddy out there. So
that's your training clothes you're having on?
Yeah, I'm wearing training clothes. So yeah. So we're having our firearms training today and some other training. So we're gonna be outside in the cold, and the sun's out though, so it should be okay.
Is it? Sun's not out here.
I can see the sun outside my window.
Okay, fine. We'll take your word for it. So
it's Positive Tuesday. The sun has to be out.
That's right. So we haven't chatted since last Tuesday. So what has been new with you? Anything going
on? No. Not from a crime standpoint. We haven't had a lot of crime, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
It was a pretty quiet weekend. Went over with my son and played some hockey in Stevens or Fond du Lac, which is a long drive across the state. Other than that, it was a pretty quiet weekend.
What do you mean you and your son played?
Well, I didn't play hockey.
Oh, okay.
No. He plays. I drive the car.
Yeah. When was the last time you played hockey, by the way?
Probably in like 7th grade.
Really?
Yeah, I was. I only played for 1 year.
You know, they have open basketball at schools and stuff,
Yep.
And everyone can go. You don't really see a whole lot of that for hockey.
No, well, they have a men's league and they have a Sunday night league that I can skate, but barely. So, yeah, it's not something I've been into.
Yeah, I used to go roller skating all the time, and a skateboard and a bike. Anything with wheels, I loved it. Now I look at that and I just freak out. Like that's a trip to the emergency room waiting to happen. And I'm not even that old. But no, thank you. I'll just watch my kids do it. So,
what about you? What'd you do?
Also, not a ton. We got some stuff done around the house, of course. I had Tom Tiffany on last Thursday for a show, and that was very interesting because he was coming live from the southern border. So I actually learned quite a bit. Matt and I, my brother Matt Dryden, who owns the Body Shop Fitness Centers, we have ordered now our 2 pieces of equipment for those T-shirts that we've been talking about. Yeah. Oh. So we just got that finalized on Sunday. I think he's ordered a whole bunch of the parts for it. I don't really understand how a lot of this stuff works, but yeah. So now hopefully it'll come this weekend. We'll be testing it a little bit, using some old shirts to try them out and which shirts are we like the best and which one works the best, and then we'll order a whole bunch. And Positive Tuesdays, Ben and Fitzy shirts are coming, man. They are.
There you go.
It may still be another month or two, but we're well on our way.
Get them. All right. We'll keep her going.
Yeah. So you always seem like you're looking at the left or the right of the screen. I don't know how many screens that you have there.
I'm looking at all the questions we got going on.
Okay, good. So, and good morning, Jamie. So we'll get to some of those. I see Ben had commented last week, and we didn't get a chance to get to him. He also sent something or commented on our page, and I wrote that down. So we'll certainly get to that. Thank you, Ben. And we'll get to some of these. But first, anytime there's a press release from you or any articles that we have written regarding Barron County, we like to kind of discuss. And after the show last Tuesday, you had sent out a press release. Our headline was, "Authorities respond to possible hostage situation with shots fired, 1 in custody." You briefly talked about it last Tuesday. Is there any more information that you can give us?
No, a subject was charged by the district attorney's office for that domestic situation. And there was a couple shots that were fired during that. Nobody was struck, and he didn't shoot at anybody that I'm aware of. Well, and so while that case is still active, I can't really comment on it. I just know our SWAT team was used again in that, and so that's why we have all that equipment. I mean, you put a picture up on the website of our armored vehicle when we were advertising for the show, and that's the armored vehicle that we use to keep our officers safe. And if we had to evacuate the neighbor's house, we'd pull that in and put them in that vehicle, get them to a safe spot. And so that's where that event went, and everybody's okay, and everybody's where they're supposed to be, and people are getting the right help. So that's where that case is at.
That is, shoot. Man, I was just going to ask you a question about that. Now I can't think of it. I'm sure I will in a little bit. So what else is, so not a whole lot going on in your personal life. Obviously, there was that story there. Anything else going on in law enforcement or cop stuff currently right now, this week, this month? Anything going on?
Sure. It's National Dispatcher Week or Telecommunication Officer
Again?
Week. Again? Yeah, every year.
Did we just do that last year? Man, what a
did.
bunch of prima donnas.
Every year they want a week. But and they deserve it. They probably deserve more than one a year. But they're the people that answer the call. And so that's why we're celebrating them this week and honoring them and recognizing them for all the work that they do behind the scenes. I mean, they're the people that are behind the scenes, and they answer everyone's 911 call for help. Ambulance, fire, police, it doesn't matter. All those calls go into a 911 center, and those telecommunication officers answer those calls. So they've delivered babies. They've been on, other scenes of, horrific events. And so it's a tough week. You celebrate all the things but most of the calls they get are bad. So it's kind of like a jailer and a dispatcher. I mean, they only deal with bad people or bad incidents. I mean, but you've got to look at it. They're just regular people, and we got to make a difference in people's lives. And so that's what they're there to do, to help, to talk people through different things, from suicides, again, to delivering babies. And so we honor all of our dispatchers this week and give them a special shout out.
Yeah. And the fact they can do that over the phone, because that part blows my mind. I'm more of a, I got to be there to see it. And I don't know, that's just so crazy, the things that they can do. And, it's Communications Week, right, for them.
Right.
But I don't think we really put enough emphasis on the communications part. Imagine doing that job. And again, you can never see the person. You're on the phone. It's just crazy. And you're also multitasking, coordinating all these things while working with, it's just nuts. That takes a special person. A special kind of talent, and I'm assuming a lot of training, but I don't care how much training you get. Like, I could train all the time. I can't be an NBA basketball player. I just don't have the talent, right, to actually do that. Man, it takes a special person.
Yeah, and they don't always know the outcome of the case. So we try to debrief them with outcomes of cases. We got to do a better job of that, because they don't always know when the cop gets there. They hang up, and they don't know what happens for the next. You look at our SWAT calls. Our SWAT calls, our dispatchers are really busy up until that time. They page the SWAT team. The SWAT team gets on scene, and they hear some radio traffic every once in a while, because we switch to a SWAT frequency, so no one can hear what the SWAT team is saying, their tactics, and they don't get to hear that. So they don't really know what's going on until we get the person in custody 3 hours later.
Sure.
They don't know what happened during that 3 hours. So we try to debrief them and follow up. And, we have some technology where they can see some of our squad cars. And so as technology increases, it's making their jobs easier and somewhat better. But they can also see what's going on. So if an officer needs help, they can see that. So yeah, it's very stressful. It's very heartwarming. I mean, like I said, they've done some pretty awesome things just here in Barron County. I mean, they receive, 40 to 60,000 calls a year into that dispatch center. 100 plus calls a day come in there, and some are just a barking dog, a parking complaint, but some are serious accidents and fires, and your house is on fire and your house burns down, and
Right.
you're on the phone with the lady saying, my house is on fire. Where's the fire department? Why is it taking so long? Well, it's only been a minute and a half since you called, but it
Right.
feels like forever. And our dispatchers have to
Yeah.
deal with that. And that's
Yeah.
the struggle of the job, and trying to keep someone calm on the phone until law enforcement gets there. So.
Well, and I'm glad that there is a week for that. I don't know if there's a week for just deputies or officers, but one of the things, and I've brought this up before, that I've always appreciated about you, not just doing this show, but I've always believed that every organization has to have a face of the organization. So I'm the face of DrydenWire. We have a lot of people that are a part of DrydenWire, but I'm the face of DrydenWire, and I think that's important. Every organization should. Shelley Police Department. Dave Wilson is the face of that police department. You are the face of law enforcement in Washington County, or in Barron County. Certainly the sheriff's department. Tracy Finch, we've had her on. She's the face of that. I think that is so important. But just like with DrydenWire, we have so many people that actually do so many great things that, man, I couldn't do this. We couldn't do this if it wasn't for them. And we look at like what you do, and you are the face of it. And I think you should be. You absolutely should be the face of the sheriff's department. But, man, you wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff without everyone that works for you. And specifically this week, we're calling out or recognizing those dispatchers, because they do, they do God's work. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're 78 strong behind me, and you're right. You can't be a leader without a team, and you need a team to lead. And I'm just lucky enough to lead the 78 here, and there's 150 law enforcement officers in Barron County, and so we've all worked together to get the job done. And we're going to get into a lot of the questions that have been about what happened in Minneapolis, and we'll get into that. And as you know, I'm not afraid to talk about the topics of the day, and people want to know. And I think I have some answers. I can't comment on what happened over there, but I think I can comment on what would happen here. And we'll get into that in just a little bit.
Okay. Anything else going on down there?
It's Sexual Assault Awareness Month also. So we work with our St. Croix Valley SART, or Sexual Assault Response Team. They're new. They have an office in Rice Lake now. And so we're working with them and trying to get some myths and some facts out there.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. What was the name of it?
St. Croix Valley SART.
I've never heard of it.
Oh, yeah. They have an office in Rice Lake, River Falls. They have all of our SANE nurses. So if someone's been involved in a sexual assault, the SANE nurse comes and, handles it, part of the investigation.
Sure.
Keep the law enforcement separate. You can go just to SART. You don't have to involve law enforcement when it comes to sexual assaults. And so we're just making people aware of what's going on. I got these new headphones. It's weird because you got me these new headphones, and it's different today. I can only hear you a lot clearer.
That's not usually good. Yeah. That was a gift. It was I sent, and I think that's okay, right? It's not like no, you're not running for anything, right? I mean, you technically are, but no, it was for the show, because I keep trying to get you to wear headphones, and you don't like this one. This one, I'm like, fine, I'm just gonna order some headphones and just send them to you. So so I don't know how we want to do this. There's a lot of questions. I do want to obviously get into the situation with Minneapolis. I'm not sure where we want to start first. There was a couple of questions that someone had left on our page yesterday when asked, so I think that'd be appropriate to touch those first. But obviously, first, you are watching Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by ICAA. ICAA is your local social service organization that works together with individuals, families, and the community to create and support local solutions for local needs. For a full list of services, find them on Facebook or check them out on their website at indianheadcaa.org. So there was a question that was yesterday from a Shasta W. What is the fastest someone has been caught speeding on 53, and how much does Barron County patrol the highway?
Well, I don't actually know the fastest. It's over 100 miles an hour.
Okay.
That we've, it's probably in that 108 to 110 range. I'm not 100% sure.
I can go faster than that.
Well, you can. It just costs you a lot. And we patrol the highway as much as possible. I mean, parts of Highway 53 in Barron County are in the city of Rice Lake, and Chetek has a portion of it. So you might see a Chetek car or Rice Lake squad. Obviously, the State Patrol has jurisdiction on the highways and any roadway in Wisconsin. And so everybody's out on Highway 53 patrolling. Um, we, I would guess, once a day you'll see a squad out there. I mean, there's lots of roads in Barron County that we have to patrol, and Highway 53 is just one of them. But you definitely see patrol out there, and so a lot of people have jurisdiction on Highway 53, not just the sheriff's department, and
Sure.
not just the state patrol.
Okay. There was a question. I think Ben. I don't know how you pronounce your last name, Ben. I'm terribly sorry. Sumi or Swemi. I'm sorry. I'm mispronouncing that. But he had brought it up on here, but we can't put that. It would cover the whole screen. But he also put that same question up on our page, so I wrote it down. I can't read all of it. It's going to take too long, so I'm just going to take this first part where he asks for us to please ask about cannabis legislation and why law enforcement continues to tell GOP lawmakers that it's too dangerous to legalize here. And I just want to read this other part. Opioid use and binge drinking has been shown to go down in legal states. We just legalized to-go cup alcohol for crying out loud. Please explain why I and others still can't have the freedom and liberty to make our own choices when it comes to medicine, livelihood, and personal joy/fun. So I guess that first part here is why law enforcement continues to tell GOP lawmakers that it's too dangerous to legalize here.
Well, I'm really not in. I mean, I get the to-go cup idea. We did it to. It's not a real great thing, but they're sealed, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, I get the point on that. I don't know if it actually reduces binge drinking and opioid use. I don't have that statistic. He obviously studied this more than I have, but I can tell you that the legalizing marijuana, medical marijuana, I'm 100% for. I think you should legalize medical marijuana, which should have been legalized years ago. If it helps somebody with some kind of medicine, you should legalize the marijuana. There's a scientific thing. I'm not a scientist. They take the THC out of it to legalize the marijuana to make it where it's a medicine for your body. But if it was the marijuana from the 60s, I described this in high school classes. If it was the marijuana from the 60s, the marijuana from the 60s is like drinking a can of beer. It wasn't that strong. We all know that drinking a can of beer and driving, while it's not advised, it's legal in Wisconsin. Most people can have a beer, legally drive home, and not be over 0.08. I say most people because it's different for every person's body. Marijuana is the same way. It's different for every person's body. So legalizing today's marijuana is a lot stronger. It's like drinking a 12-pack or a case of beer in one setting. I don't think any of us would do that and get into a car and drive home. He's going to have a point. You can legalize it. He should be able to sit at home and do whatever he wants. Maybe, but people continue to drive. We arrest people. He wanted to know how many people we arrested for OWI that were just under drugs. And I don't have that breakdown. I think that's a good point. I think we should look at that statistic a little bit stronger. There are a few, though. There's more than he thinks and probably less than I think.
Sure.
But we do arrest people for strictly driving under the influence of a drug. It might be prescription medication, marijuana. It could be methamphetamine. All three are legal. It's the same statute as driving under the influence of OWI. So my concern with legalizing it is at the strength of the marijuana. I have no problem with legalizing medical marijuana, but I have a big concern about legalizing it and increasing the meth use. I also have a concern for if we legalize it, our commercial motor vehicle people, our crane operators, our dump truck owner drivers, because if it's legal for me to smoke marijuana and I smoke it at my house on Monday night at 5 p.m., I get home from work, I smoke marijuana. That's in your system longer than alcohol. So we need to come up with a test. Like I can tell you if you're drunk in the morning. I can have you blow into a tube before you drive my dump truck and tell you, boy, you're 0, you can drive my dump truck. We don't have that test for marijuana. Marijuana can stay in your system for up to 30 days. Now, marijuana gets out of your system every day, more marijuana. So, there's a milliparts per whatever to tell you if you're legally intoxicated with marijuana in your system to be driving, too much to be driving. So a dump truck driver, a commercial motor vehicle driver doesn't have that, and they're going to accept more risk when you legalize a drug that you can't test for. And so that becomes a big issue for commercial motor vehicle crane operators. That was something they didn't think about when they legalized it in Colorado. They 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 legalized it. The tax money that they promised isn't there, in my opinion. That where they're not building brand new schools all over Colorado because they have all this extra tax money now, which is kind of what they kind of promised.
Yep.
They said, oh, we're gonna, they're building new playgrounds and better parks with some of that money free of charge. So I don't agree. I do agree that it did give some more money. Um,
It sounds like what you're saying is medicinal part, but really, if we're going to legalize, obviously you're not a lawmaker, right?
Right.
But if they do, we just got to do it smart, right? There's got to be a lot of things in place, including that breathalyzer thing. So let's get to, actually, is there any question? I'm just going to go look through a few of them here.
How do we tell if someone is impaired on weed?
Where's that one?
Ben asked that question.
Oh,
he
okay.
thinks I'm giving some false information. You're right, Ben. Alcohol is different in every person. Some people drink a beer or 2 beers and they're over the legal limit. The same thing can happen. And we test alcohol with their driving, their eyes, odor, admission. When we ask all kinds of questions, do we tell somebody if they're on marijuana or on methamphetamine? So we ask all of those questions and we draw their blood. Alcohol, you can blow in a machine. For marijuana, methamphetamine, you have to get into a blood test. That puts more stress on our hospitals. Obviously, when something is more available, people are going to do it. So we're going to see an increase in people driving. But people drive drunk all the time. Ben's got a point. I mean, we arrest people for OWIs all the time, and there should be a breathalyzer. He said you shouldn't need a breathalyzer. Well, I think you do need some kind of immediate test like you do for alcohol. It would help some of these business owners too. And I'm more worried about the business owners.
Yeah, and plus the when you start looking at blood draws alone, now we start getting some constitutional things that some people have some very big questions about blood draws. I'm just saying there's a lot to it. But I think we absolutely should start. I mean, right now we're talking about legalizing marijuana. First of all, I don't care. You want to sit at home and you want to drink 15 beers, and as long as if you're just by yourself and you don't hurt anybody and you're just at home, I don't care. Do what you want in your own home. If you want to smoke weed, fine, go right ahead. I don't care. Now that's still technically illegal, so I'd be careful where you're getting it, because if they get busted, they're probably going to tell that you have it too. But that doesn't bother me at all. I don't care. I've never cared about marijuana. I just don't care about it. But I do think that before we start looking into legalizing it, let's start with medicinal. Because if we can't get that right, because a lot of that medicinal part, law enforcement needs to be aware of as well, and how do we manage this? So I think that's just the start. And I think Ben had brought up something about GOP lawmakers. Yeah, I think they kind of realize now too, and we've talked about this before, that they're going to have to start doing something, because that's what everybody's asking for. All right.
And it just I get it. I understand it. It's frustrating on some people's part. I'm not going to change Ben's mind. I'm not looking to change anybody's mind. I'm just saying the marijuana today stays in your system longer than does alcohol. So it's different than alcohol, because you can be high for longer than you can drunk. And so that's my concern with it. Maybe that concerns can be answered with some new technology and we'll be good to go. So hopefully, I mean, obviously I know that didn't answer all of his questions.
Well, there's a lot, but
yeah, right. It's a big topic.
It's a different Ben and Fitzy show. It's a different Ben.
No, and that's
me.
But we don't do blood draws for every OWI. You can still, on first offense and even second and third offense, blow into an intoximeter machine. We have those at all of our police departments. They're still utilized, but blood draws are used a lot more than we do in intoximeters, but we still have intoximeters. So it's first offense, especially, you don't have to draw blood if you don't want to. So,
all right, is there another question on there that you would like us to bring up? You had mentioned something about
Somebody
Maybe.
wanted a DrydenWire week
Oh
instead
yeah,
of a dispatcher
yeah. We
week.
should
Yeah.
totally do that. You know what we'll
Yeah.
do? We're gonna do that on I think the week of May. I think it's the first Tuesday in May or it's the second Tuesday. One of
Uh-huh.
those. I think that's our 50th show.
Oh,
So we're gonna do something awesome for that. I have no idea what.
all right. Okay, we'll
But
come up with something.
yeah, but we'll do something here. Uh,
But let's get into the topic everybody wants to talk about. And I knew it was coming, so
yeah, I
it
just didn't
sucks to
see a
talk
question
about.
in there about it or anything. But
Well, in the beginning there was something about tasers and guns,
oh,
and
sure. Yeah. Oh, and I have a
that. But
question about that. So
okay,
you go ahead and talk because I forgot I had printed out something I wanted to ask you about, and it's in my office across the hall. So
so you're gonna leave me to the show
yeah,
by
you just go
myself?
ahead and just do it. Yeah.
Yeah, Ben. I'm always up to learning about different perspectives. So I appreciate the different perspectives. As long as it goes both ways. I can tell you that the blood draws we do for alcohol are pretty accurate. They have to be within a certain time frame. We have to follow certain laws. So I understand it, Ben. I get it, but I'm always up for learning and doing more. So, uh, but the topic of the day is obviously what happened over in Minnesota. Again, tragic event, and it sucks for law enforcement. It sucks for the families. It's just a terrible, tragic event again that shouldn't have happened. I mean, it's people want to know about tasers and guns. Well, I can tell you, our tasers are yellow, and they're made of plastic, and they're different weight, and they're usually carried opposite of our gun side, and so that's I don't know how she made that mistake, and I don't
Yeah.
get it. I don't understand it. It's terrible, and somebody shouldn't have died.
Yeah.
But and it's just, but our tasers are yellow. Again, they're made of plastic, and some of them carry them. We wear outer carrier vests now, so some of them carry on their vest, so it's not even near their gun. It's up high, so they know they have to grab it high. Um, we train on tasers, we train on firearms. We train under stress.
Yeah.
When we do our shoots, we train with people hollering. We train with our red lights and our sirens on, so that there's other things we have to think about when we train. You have to train. It's important that you do that repetition. You get used to that. We have certified instructors that train us in these things, and so all I can say is, I feel bad. It sucks. It
Yeah.
sucks for law enforcement. And you can say he didn't comply, and the struggle happened, and she went to taser him, and she shot him. She should have. She should have known
Yeah.
it was not a taser. I mean, her partner got out of the way because she said, "Get out of the way, I'll tase you, or I'll use my
Yeah.
taser," or
Yep.
whatever she says on there, and she says taser, because that's how we're trained. We're trained when we shoot the taser. We tell people, "You stop or you'll be tased," and we yell taser, so that other people around us know what we're doing, whether it's law enforcement or
Yeah.
a suspect.
Mm. And that's the obviously when I was offline Sunday night, so Monday morning I woke up and I saw this. My first thought was, oh no, right? Just I mean, not just
Right.
because it was a white cop and a black. I just been like, oh no, this
Mhm.
that's not good, right? So obviously there's more information that came out, and obviously somebody died, and that's just horrific, and that's tragic, and that's terrible. But like most things, you try to okay, who was right and who was wrong, or who did something. But then to find out that it was a mistake,
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't. When I'm reading these things and I was watching the news this morning and I hear more information about it and I just feel powerless, right? Like
Right.
I don't know how to. I mean, it's terrible, but it's I don't know. You can't really blame anyone. And you brought up, and I've heard that too. That man, if you just comply, don't put yourself in that position to begin with. And I get it. That's a legitimate point. I understand that. But obviously and then shooting some, but a mistake. That's
Mhm.
crazy. So that's what I went and got this. I saw something this morning, and there was a headline that was it was from AP. How does an officer use a gun instead of a taser? So I wanted to quickly read you this. Experts say such cases are rare in terms of accidentally using a firearm instead of a stun gun. Experts say that such cases are rare, but they do happen occasionally. Similar cases have been reported in other states. This Bill Lewinsky studies police psychology and has used the phrase slip and capture. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that. Slip and
Never.
capture errors to describe the phenomenon. Lewinsky says officers sometimes perform the direct opposite of their intended actions under stress. Their actions slip and are captured by a stronger response. Other experts disagree and say a major factor in why officers mistakenly draw their firearm is that stun guns typically look and feel like a firearm, which that seems weird because I think it's on like your weak side, right? And there's a huge weight difference. So I was just trying to understand that part of the, man, how do you act? I think that's what a lot of people want to know. Like, how do you accidentally not, or how do you not know you have a gun and not a stun gun? They're plastic and metal, and how?
Yeah, well, it's the same feel of a gun. I mean, it's the same almost size. Like I said, ours are yellow, so it's made to under a stressful situation. It's hopefully like, oh my gosh, I see yellow, so I know I have a taser. If I have all black now, I don't know what color a taser was. I don't know. They make all black ones. I'm not sure why, but
right.
I like the yellow on them because that's easy. Will she be charged? I don't know. It's this. There wasn't intent. Now she did intend to shoot him, and I'm trying to be careful about this because I know that it's a tough subject, and I'm just giving my opinion. Will she be charged? Yes, she'll be charged with something.
It's going to end up in a courtroom at some point. Yes,
but it's no different. I don't know. I don't know. And people can help me understand this better too. And I'm sure our citizen action team will talk about this because that's why I got that team together to talk about tough topics like this because this is a tough topic for law enforcement. But you can't burn a city down because something bad happened.
I know.
And that's got to stop. I mean, end of story. You can't wreck a business because something happened. Now, let's do it the right way. Let's make sure if she needs to be charged, she's charged. Let's make sure the court. But I don't know if you are driving your truck home and you run through a stop sign because you didn't see it and you hit somebody and kill them. That's an accident. You didn't intend to run that stop sign. You're just like, I wasn't paying attention. The sun was out. Whatever the reason, let's say you weren't drunk at all. You weren't high, nothing. You literally went through a stop sign, hit somebody, and you killed them. You hit them in the right spot and they died. That's an accident. Will you go to prison for first-degree murder? Absolutely not. But will you be charged with something? More than likely, you'll be charged with something. That's happened in this county. But you won't go to prison for, we have people that get convicted of murder, and they only go to prison for 8 years.
I'm laughing because it's just crazy.
Not that I agree with that or not, but I don't set that rule. Law enforcement doesn't say, we don't get an opinion on this matter, and it may not even be the district attorney's office that has opinion on this matter. Yeah. So people think this lady's going to go to jail for the rest of her life. She's not. And that's the problem is people want, the maximum penalty, and I don't know that the maximum penalty is going to be enough. Even if she were to get the maximum penalty, I'm not sure people are going to be satisfied with it because it wasn't intentional. I mean, she did pull out her gun and she did shoot him, and there was intent there, and she made a mistake, and we can't make that mistake. I agree 100%.
That's just crazy. Like if I made a mistake, which I do, in a headline, right? I think I told you before. I think I said the gay wolves population was something, and because I forgot the R, so it was gray wolves, and obviously I heard about that. But I can easily go and fix it, right? I cannot imagine making a mistake that would cost somebody their life, and what that person must be feeling right now. Right. I mean, that's just correct. I can't imagine what that's like. And I saw the mayor, Brooklyn Center mayor, on this morning on CBS with Gayle King, and she had asked him, "So, do you think this really was an accident?" He said, "Yeah, you look at the body cam footage immediately afterwards," and she's like, "Oh." Like you can see her hands out, like I didn't mean to do that, and that's just. But I did think about you, and I thought about other law enforcement agencies in our area, Northwest Wisconsin, because I would like to bring it back there and leave it kind of here about our area. Obviously it's tragic, it's horrible, it's unfortunate. I mean, all these words about that, but obviously it's getting nationwide attention as it probably should. but the perception of our local law enforcement, how those situations, whether it's in Minneapolis or in California or in Florida or New York, how those perceptions then get put on local law enforcement. And that's one of those, oh man, something else that's putting cops in a bad light, because I just really wish I could see more stories about some of the positive things that law enforcement does, because I think they do more positive than, unfortunate situations like this. But when you see this stuff, do you go, oh no, as in
Yeah.
Barron County law enforcement and how that's going to impact them? And if so, what kind of impact do you think it will have on our Northwest Wisconsin law enforcement?
Well, I think when you see a mistake being made, um, right or wrong, however you'd think of that, and then you see a city burn or the businesses get destroyed or the community that she served for 26 years get wrecked, you think about that as a local law enforcement. I watched that chief, and I didn't watch the whole thing. That chief, when he released that video against the wishes of a BCA, and I think probably it was a good idea to release the video. Now I think him and the mayor should have done that jointly, and they should have came up with a plan behind the scenes and worked on this together and tried to heal their community. And whether that's involving the district attorney's office, I don't know. But I think there needs to be a better plan of communication. It was very piecemeal, but I'm also not there and seeing all what's going on. And there's a lot of things over there going on. And so when you bring it back home, I think that has an effect on law enforcement. Is one mistake going to burn down Barron County? And no one wants to be that person. And was it racial or not? I don't know that. I don't know her. I don't know what's going on in Brooklyn Center. I don't know the atmosphere over there. We see it on TV. Is everything on TV exactly like it is? I don't know. I mean, I hope it's not. It probably is more than I think. And again, that's why I have our citizen action team to advise me of some things on how people in Barron County feel about some of these topics and how we can do a better job of talking about it. And I think we need to talk about it openly and listen to other sides of the story. Just like Ben had a difference of opinion about this. And he said, when you were out, he's like, hey, would you listen to me if, I gave you more information? Yeah, I'll listen all day long. I'll listen it's a way to make it better for someone, I'll listen. And that's what we have to do. We have to do a better job of being together. And, kind of like better together. I know we've been apart for so long, but better together is a good thing. And, words matter. And it's very important to teach our kids and our friends and all that, that, it matters. And the things you do, the little things you do can make a big difference. And are
you naming off all the things we're putting on our T-shirt right now?
Yeah, I'm trying.
I'm gonna start writing these down because I forgot some of them.
Yeah. But you take 2 steps forward in law enforcement, and then and then you take a big one back, and that's what's for law enforcement. When you bring it home to Barron County, does this have an effect on us? Yeah, it has an effect.
And that's the unfortunate part, that it wasn't your department, right? And not that your department, not that you or your deputies haven't made mistakes. They're obviously not, or at least I haven't heard of any that were this significant, but there's still mistakes, right? I see other news outlets, even locally, just in the last month, I've seen 2 that I thought was irresponsible. Obviously, I'm not going to say who it was or what it was about. They can do what they want. They will post things, or I see people saying that things on Facebook is that information is never accurate. Well, there is a lot. You have to consider the source. But other media outlets do things in a certain way, report on things in a certain way, and that hurts us because we are a part of that umbrella, but we've never done those things. We've published, I think, over 2,500 original stories, 15,000 posts in over 5.5 years. I've never had to retract or take a post down because we take extreme caution in what we do. But we still get put in that umbrella of media and people's opinion of media. So it's kind of that same scenario of something happens somewhere else, and yet now local people may be looking at our local law enforcement differently when it's actually, that had nothing to do with us. But it still affects local law enforcement.
Right. Yeah, and it does. And, Becky asked a question. The warrant was out on this guy for not showing up for court date. Why would this escalate? Well, obviously and I don't know the details behind the stop, but somebody said he had a warrant. I don't know that. I didn't confirm that. I don't. But if he had a warrant
For his
and he was
arrest,
stopped
for a couple of misdemeanors, I believe.
yeah, so he had a warrant for his arrest. Our job in law enforcement is to arrest people that have warrants for their arrest. That's one of our duties.
Yeah.
And they were stopped for why they stopped them. I don't know. Obviously,
Expired tabs.
okay, so a legal stop. We stop people for expired tabs in Barron County all the time because you have to follow the rules of the road. And so they got stopped for a legal stop. He had a warrant for his arrest. He has to get out of the car. We arrest people when they get out of the car. We take them to jail, we get their warrants taken care of, and they're released again the next day or the same day or whatever, or they pay a bond and get back out of jail. That's how the system works. Mm-hmm. So, why did it escalate? Because people resist us all the time. Not all the time. I shouldn't say all the time. Sure. People resist law enforcement. And it's our job to, if you resist law enforcement, that we can use the necessary force.
Well, I think that answers it right there. That's what escalates it.
Right. And no, a gun was not the necessary force. I agree. Right. A taser was the necessary force under the use of force continuum. Now, she made the mistake. She'll be held to that standard. And, whatever happens, happens. That's not for me to say. That's for a jury to say. Will they sue the city and get money? Yes, of course. It's wrongful.
Yep.
But we can't, if somebody's going to resist us, we can't just let them go. That's not what we're trained to do. And that's not the safety of the community. And whether that changes down the road, I don't know. Will law enforcement change because of all these? More than likely it's going to some degree, but where do we cross that line? Do we cross that line of if somebody is speeds and, we went through this a few years ago with fleeing an officer and, high speeds and, we don't chase many people anymore. We use discretion when it comes to that. If we know who the driver is or it's a minor violation, we don't chase them because we've got into that thing where cops crash into people or the bad guy crashes into someone and somebody else is killed, and that's tragic too. But somebody said, what if she had just left her gun at home that day? Well, I don't think that's a very safe thing for us to leave our guns at home.
Why? Actually, why is that? Why I think, what is it, UK? Actually, I better not say, because I don't recall. I thought it was UK, or at least their beat cops, the regular cop, they don't even have a gun, if I recall. I'll have to double check that. But do you think there's ever a scenario where it would be a good scenario where law enforcement doesn't, I'm not saying they don't have a weapon or the ability to access a weapon, but doesn't carry a weapon as part of their uniform?
No, I just don't think that. If you look at last Monday afternoon, it's a Monday afternoon in Barron County, and there's two people fighting over a shotgun in a yard, and we get called to the scene. So, and what if a patrol officer is just driving by when that's going on? You have to have the tools needed to exercise. Yeah. We're trained in those tools. This person uses those tools in the wrong way, and bad things happen. Yeah. And now consequences are going to happen for that decision.
All right. And I'm sorry,
but I don't believe that would happen in Barron County. I think we're trained, but it can happen anywhere. And that's where it comes back down to your question of, does it affect local law enforcement? Yes. Well, people say this isn't worth my time. I don't want my city to burn. I don't want my life to be wrecked because I tried to arrest somebody that had a warrant and something bad happened. And it sucks. But keep talking about it. Keep giving me your ideas. Keep emailing me and talking about this, because I think the more we talk about it, the more we heal, the better we understand. And
well, I think just having that transparency, having you even just coming on and talking about this is important. I could shoot free throws by myself and make like 9 out of 10, but until it's the end of the game and the game's in the line and there's fans and everyone's yelling and screaming, I mean, that's just a different environment, right? So are you looking at this with what's going on over there and looking at how are we being trained right now, or do you feel comfortable that your deputies right now put in a similar situation would not make that same mistake? Well, I mean, you can never guarantee anything because, again, it's a mistake. That's why it's called a mistake. It's an accident. Didn't mean to. But do you feel confident right now that their training is where it needs to be? Or are you looking at maybe this is a good time? We look into a little bit more training on these stress environments. It's hard to really train for a real life application because it's not. It's still training.
Right.
But do you think you guys need to do more, or are you comfortable where you are right now?
No, I'm very confident. Otherwise, that would be bad for me to say we weren't confident.
Well, that's true.
But I feel
Sorry.
very. Yeah, I mean, that'd be negligent on my part. If we only shot once a year, that's negligence in my part. We shoot more than once a year. I think most of our people shoot 4 times a year. We only have to shoot once a year. Somebody asked about our guns don't have safeties. You have to turn your taser on with a switch to make it live. So it technically kind of has a taser has a switch. And so, again, you get into those motions of drawing your gun, drawing your taser. Will we learn from this and train a little different? Probably, yeah. We'll probably train gun versus taser. There's somebody on our line that'll say gun or taser, and we'll have to draw one of the two. Will we train differently from this and learn from it? Of course we will. We should train differently because of something that happens, or at least know what's going on. So, but am I 100% confident in my team? 100% confident for the citizens of Barron County that this hopefully would never happen here. You're not guaranteed nothing, but there's no guarantee that somebody doesn't miss a stop sign and crash, or something else happens. I mean, life happens, and so we have to adjust and go with the flow of that. But again, you cannot burn down and wreck a city because you're frustrated. There's different ways to make good happen in the world, and you have to go about it a good way.
Yeah. Fitzy, we went way longer than normal. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. We're off next week, I believe, right? So last time I said we're off next week, and I was wrong.
We are off next week now.
All right. So. Any last messages or anything, last words before we take 2 weeks off?
Yeah, no, again, this is a tough topic to talk about. Happy to talk about it offline with anybody. But again, thank you for the support you give law enforcement. We feel the love here. And so we are very happy with the support that we get here in Barron County. It's tough sometimes to continue to be outspoken about police because people have a bad feeling about us, but we don't feel that here in Barron County. So thank you for reaching out. Thank you for supporting your local law enforcement. We need it now more than ever, and we'll continue to be on top of our game for all the citizens of Barron County. So thank you.
And thank you for everything that you do, and obviously the dispatchers that this week and everyone else in Barron County law enforcement and all of our Northwest Wisconsin law enforcement agencies. I think we have outstanding law enforcement agencies and deputies and cops and dispatchers. We are very fortunate, I think, in our area. So, Fitzy, thank you so very much. For Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, I'm Ben Dryden, and you've been watching Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by ICAA. ICAA is your local social service organization that works together with individuals, families, and the community to create and support local solutions for local needs. For a full list of services, find them on Facebook or check them out on their website at indianheadcaa.org. So I will be back on Thursday with Politically Speaking with Adam Jarko and Patty Schochner. I think, you know what? I actually was supposed to email them last week, and I forgot until just now. I should be back on Thursday. And then Fitzy and I are off next Tuesday. Diane's Kitchen will be aired in place. And then I think the following Thursday, or that week Thursday, is Story County Judge John Yackel. So until then, stay safe, stay positive, and as always, have a blessed day.